We should be live. I don't know if anyone's on yet, but I'm going to go ahead and test it and see if it's working. Testing 1, 2, 3. I have 2 watching. I don't know if they can hear me. Yep. All right.
I can be in the background or I can be over here.
It is up to you. You are welcome to be where you want. I'm going to mostly just be doing exampling right here,
Yes.
so.
I can see you better over here probably.
Yep, that's great. All right. Welcome to those who are here. We have a couple of minutes before it's actually 4 o'clock, but I wanted to get it started so people could find us. So just hang on for just a minute and we'll get started pretty soon.
That'll be important.
Yes. It's helpful to have the piano unlocked.
I always figure live is better than live stream. Live in
Yes.
person is better than live stream.
Yeah, but the live stream actually, the quality of what we can do these days is pretty impressive.
Sure,
So.
sure. Oh yeah.
So we'll give people just another minute or so and then we will get started. Welcome to those of you who are watching. And if you do have questions, don't put it into the live chat because I'm not going to be able to monitor that. But if you would put it in the comments below the video, I can go back and answer questions after the class. So if you would have any questions, feel free to put those in the comments below the video, and then I will try to go back after the class and answer any questions that people have. You can also contact me through my email, tim@arvadaumc.org. That's tim@arvadaumc.org. So if you have any questions, please feel free to either email me or put them in the comments below, and then I will answer those after the class is over. All right, I have 4 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. First of all, welcome to the people who are live and the people who are watching online. My goal for our time today is to just get started on a series of classes that we will be offering throughout this semester, and hopefully seeing how they work and how people like them. We hope to continue into the future. We have a series of classes right now. The January, February, and March classes will meet on the 3rd Sunday of the month at 4 o'clock. The April and May classes, due to conflicts with Easter and other concerts and things happening at the church, are moved to the 4th Sundays of the month. And all of them you can find by going to arvadaumc.org and clicking on Adult Small Groups. And then at the very bottom of the page it has the whole list of classes. I'm very excited about our February class, where Mark Zwilling, who is the organist at St. Andrew's United Methodist Church and is a phenomenal organist and musician, will be giving a presentation on organ. And that will also be available both in person and on live stream on the third Sunday of February at 4 o'clock. And again, that date is on our website. We hope to continue these discussions. I'm hoping once COVID has calmed down that we can include some sort of a social reception afterwards where the people who come in person can engage with us and can have a little time to talk afterwards. Unfortunately, right now, due to COVID, I'm happy to stay after and chat for a few minutes, but we can't offer any food or anything like that at the moment. But we look forward to being able to do that down the road. I decided to kick off the new year with a class entitled Getting Your Voice Back Together in the New Year, because not only has, the end of the year usually been a bit hectic and not always have been a great time where we take care of our voices, and also just this time of year with it being cold and the heaters on and all of the other things that are involved in the winter can be a little bit harsh on the voice. But also, we are still going through what was and has been a challenging pandemic. And so we are trying to find ways to get our voices back in shape after many of us spent some time not singing and using our voices. Welcome.
Hey.
Come and join us.
I figured out how to get in.
Oh, good.
Because the front door is locked.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot there's nothing else going on. Please join us anywhere up here that you would like and be comfortable. So I know that it sounds like the class is maybe only for people who currently or have in the past sung in ensembles, but I really think that the pandemic has been hard on all of our voices. A lot of us have spent a lot of time sitting around and at home more than we usually do, which changes our breathing and our posture and all of these things that we are maybe a little bit doing differently in this time. So we're going to spend some time looking at the different aspects of how we use our bodies to sing, and exploring how we can do some things. I am going to give you some exercises that you can use later. This class will also stay on our website. I'll post it directly to our website, but it'll also be on our YouTube page, so that you can go back and review. So if you're like, well, I'm just going to focus on the first part of what he talked about, or one section of what he talked about today, you could go back and watch the other parts down the road and do that. But today, I want to start with breathing. If we think about singing, one of the most important things that we do in singing is learning how to breathe. And I know it sounds kind of funny because we say, well, we breathe every day. That's a fairly natural process. But we only use about 40 to 50% of our actual lung capacity on a normal day. Unless you are, a long-distance runner or a deep-sea underwater diver or something like that, your breathing is a fairly basic thing that you only use a portion of. But for singing, we need to utilize our whole lungs. That being said, training your lungs, even if you don't intend to be a full-time singer, is a really healthy thing to do. It actually helps with our mental and physical health. So I'm going to start with some breathing exercises that you can do. We're going to do them together. I would encourage you to stand up if you can. If you can't do this standing up, you can do it sitting as well. But I would encourage you to make sure that as you're sitting, that your feet are planted into the ground, that you're not, crossing your legs or anything, and that you are sitting on what we call sit bones. So your sit bones are the bottom side of your hips. So you don't want to be kind of rolled forward onto your legs or back onto your bottom. You want to be really on your hips, the rounded part of your hips, and sitting into that. So if you need to practice this sitting, you can do that. I'm going to do most of my exampling standing, but all of it, except for the knee bending, is something you can definitely still also practice sitting. So just skip the knee bending part and do the arms if you're sitting, okay? Also, if you have bad knees, you do not have to do a very large bend when I'm asking you to bend your knees. A small bend will be just fine. Why I do ask you to bend the knees, though, is because when you bend your knees, you actually automatically relax your pelvic floor. The pelvic floor is a series of muscles that sit just above your pelvis. And in order to take a deep breath, we need those muscles to relax. And one of the things we know is when we bend our knees, they automatically relax. And so that's why it's really important to have the knees, even if you're just going to slightly bend them, to have them just a little bent, okay? So this first exercise we're going to do is what I call a plie breath. It comes from the dancing world, the ballet world. They do a movement in the ballet world called a plie, okay? Now, if you watch a real ballet dancer do it, they will normally turn their legs out. That is not a requirement of doing this. So whatever is comfortable for your feet and legs, but you are going to want to be able to bend your knees a little bit. So I would ask you to put your hands in this position like I am doing. And then we're going to let all of our air out first and then breathe in. So I'm going to talk you through the first time. So first let all your air out. And then breathe in and slightly bend your knees and watch my hands. And then back up as you breathe back out. Let's try that again. Just check in and see if you have any tension that's kind of forming from just standing there. Kind of wiggle that out a little bit, and let's try again. All your air out. Deep breath in. And breath out as you come up. Good. So that is a plie breath. So again, this is just a very small version of what ballet dancers do, would be something more like this, but there is no need to go that deep for what we're doing. We're just encouraging the body. Now, in my teaching, I believe that a lot of the things that we want to manipulate our body to do on the inside, we can have an outside metaphor to teach them to do. What we're trying to do with this exercise is teach our bodies to take a deeper breath than a normal everyday breath. But when we do this plie, and especially when we make this movement with the arms, which go down and out, we're encouraging the body to fill down and out, which is exactly how we want the body to take a deep breath. Let's do another one. All of our air out. Deep breath in with plie. And back up as you breathe out. Good. I want you to also understand that a deep breath and a big breath are not exactly the same thing, okay? Now, what I mean by that is I can take a short or quick deep breath. Now, I know it's harder to see that since I have a mask on, but you can take a quick deep breath that is not as big as a true big breath. So deep and big are not the same thing. We want to teach the body that even if we just need a small breath, even if we just have to sing a short phrase of 2 or 3 notes, we still want it to take a deep breath. Does that make sense? Everybody with me? Let's do one more. Now, one other thing I should say before we do this. Anytime you are doing this kind of breathing, you are taking in more air than your body does on a normal everyday basis. For some people, when they first start to do this, that means they're filling more oxygen into their lungs. Now, what we understand about the body is the body's going to take out as much oxygen of the air that you take in as possible. That's actually a good thing. That's how we stay alive. That's how we get oxygen into our blood system. Okay, but the problem is, if you take a lot of deep breaths and you're not used to it, you get more oxygen to your brain, and sometimes more oxygen to the brain can make people a little dizzy, yeah? So that's one of the reasons why I'm putting some space in between each of our exercises of doing this. But if you notice that you're getting just a tiny bit dizzy from doing this, just take a break in between them. You do not have to do them consecutively over and over and over. We have a few more people coming in. Please feel free to come up and join us up here. We are just working on our breathing techniques, okay? So we're doing something called the plie breath, which just means that we're taking a deep breath while bending our knees and doing our arms like this, all right? Let's do a couple more of these. Let's let all of our air out. Make sure your knees are bent, and then bend them a little more as you do plie. And then let it all out as you come back up. Good. All right, everybody feel comfortable with the plie breath? Yes? Now, we're going to let it out this time with what I call a TS sound. It sounds like this. So if you can just put your tongue like you were going to say TS together, But then you're going to keep the tongue there and blow the air out as we come back up. So we're still going to take the plie breath and then it out, okay? So all air out. Plie breath in. Out. Very good. Now the reason we're doing the TS is it mimics the idea of when we start to sing for the body, the vocal cords coming together. So it gives just a little bit of a bit more obstruction to the air just flowing out with an open mouth. Does that make sense? All right, let's do one more of those. Air out. Air in with a plie. And out. Very good. And there is no requirement about how long that breath out has to take. You just do it until you are out of air, okay? The ultimate goal with doing these kinds of things is you just want to do 2 or 3 of them until they feel comfortable at the beginning of your time where you're working on your breathing and your singing. Does that make sense? So there's no, if you do a couple and they just don't feel right, then you should probably do a couple more until they feel a bit more natural. The big thing is you want to make sure as you're moving your arms down and out that you're really filling up your belly. Now, the reason why it's important to think about filling up our belly is not because our lungs have anything to do with the belly directly. But when we take a deep breath, the lungs go down, which presses down the diaphragm and all of the things below the diaphragm, which is your digestive system, and that expands out into the belly, and that's why we feel an expansion of the stomach when we truly take a deep breath, which is why I like this movement of the plie, because it reminds us to really fill this space down and out. Yes? Let's do one more with that TS breath, thinking about filling our belly. Ready? Everybody, air out. Air in. And out. So we're going to do one more right away. Air in. And out. Now, the reason I did those back to back is because that's how we sing. We take our air in, we utilize that air, and then we take another deep breath, and then we utilize it, just like we did with the TS, okay? Now, I'm going to teach you a breathing exercise that you can use to build your lungs. So what we understand is that around the lungs, there are a lot of muscles that can be strengthened so that we can take deeper breaths, so that we can sing and speak longer phrases. And one of the things we can do is strengthen the muscles around the lungs to really help them to become stronger, okay? This exercise, we're going to go ahead and do a plie breath for each one, and we're going to breathe in 6 counts and out for 6 counts. Then we're going to breathe in for 4 counts, out for 4 counts, then 2 counts, out for 2 counts, then in for 1 count, out for 1. So in for 6, out for 6, in for 4, out for 4, in for 2, out for 2, in for 1, out for 1. Okay? Let's just try it once, see how it goes. You may not get it perfect the first time. That's not an expectation I have that you have to. It's just about trying and figuring out how to make it work. Each time we breathe in, we will do the plie, and each time we breathe out, we'll come up. Okay? So we're starting with 6. Here we go. And this is going to be our count. 1, 2, ready, in for 6. And 1, 2, breathe in. 4, 5, 6. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5. In for 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Out for 1, 2, 3, 4. In for 1, 2. Out for 1, 2. In for 1. Out for 1. Okay? This is a little bit complicated. So we're going 6, 4, 2, 1. So we're basically kind of dividing or subtracting 2 each time except for the last one where we subtract 1. All right, let's try the whole thing one more time. The important thing again is making sure we're getting a deep breath. You may not in the 1 fill and get the largest breath like you will in the 6 because you've got lots of time to take a big breath, right? But the ultimate goal is to make sure that they're all deep no matter how quick or long you have to take the breath. The second part is you want to try to control your exhale, the sending out of the breath, for the entire counts. So if you have 6 counts and you're running out of air at 4, you want to try to use your air just a little bit better. This teaches breath control, which is really important because sometimes in singing we have short phrases and sometimes we have very long phrases. And so if we can teach our body to pace itself depending on the phrase it has to sing or play if you're an instrumentalist, then we can get better breathing, okay? So this is one of the things this exercise works on. So we're going to do 6, 4, 2, and 1. Everybody ready? Let's all your air out. In for 6. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In for 4. 1, 2, 3. Out for 4. Go. 1, 2, 3. In for 2. 1, 2. Out for 1. 2, in for 1, out for 1. Feel that? Very good. Now we're going to make it a little harder. And this is something you can do for yourself. Once you get good at it, you can add a larger number to the larger end. Okay, so now this time we're going to do 8. Okay? One thing I also want to say is this is actually a really good exercise. Now, it's not something you want to do when you're doing fast-paced walking. But let's say you're just walking around your neighborhood or someplace you like to go and take a gentle stroll. You can use that stroll as your counts and breathe in. Now, I know you probably won't want to plie while you're trying to walk, but if you're making sure you're still taking a deep breath and thinking the idea of the plie, this is something I do sometimes when I'm taking a stroll in my neighborhood. Is I'll just pick a number to start with, 6, 8, 10, whatever, and then I'll just walk as I'm doing this breathing. Again, I will usually take breaks in between, which is why I'm talking a little bit in between each of these, so that we don't get too much oxygen floating to the head and pass out in the middle of our walk. But it's something you can do where you don't have to be standing still to do this exercise to continue to build your lungs. All right, so we're going to try 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. Everybody ready? So all your air out first. In for 8. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In for 1, 2, 3, 4, out for 1, 2, 3, 4, in for 2, 2, and out, 2, in for 1, 1. Got that? Oh, gotta open the door. Here we go, welcome. All right. So, that's a great exercise. If you feel, especially during the pandemic, that because you're not moving around maybe as much as you did in the past, or just simply you want to work on your breathing, this is a great way to expand the breathing. I actually learned this from brass players because the breathing and air is very important for brass players, and they use this kind of an exercise a lot to really build and grow the lungs. Any questions about our breathing exercises? Great, awesome. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is lip buzzing. Now, some people struggle with lip buzzing, and normally I say, no big deal. If lip buzzing doesn't work for you, you can hum, or you can do tongue buzzing. All of those are good, but I want to give you some exercises or some experiences to see if this can help. If you would like for just a moment, you can sit down. Just make sure that you're sitting in a chair, that you can feel your sit bones, because we are going to practice still some things. So when I'm trying to explore lip buzzing with someone, and some people are just more naturally able to lip buzz than others originally, but I have never found anyone who, after working on lip buzzing for a while, wasn't eventually able to do it. So I really encourage you, even if you don't try to do it all the time, that you just spend a little time trying to do it. Why lip buzzing is such a great thing is because there's 2 parts that really make it effective for teaching your body some more about singing. One is that the lips buzzing become an outside metaphor, just like this is an outside metaphor for what we want our breathing to do. They become an outside metaphor for what's going on inside our body. In order for the vocal cords to make sound, vibration must happen, okay? And what creates that vibration is air passing by the vocal cords and encouraging them to fluctuate together, okay? Now, the lips, in order to buzz, must vibrate, and what creates that vibration is the air passing by the lips. Now, just because you can't lip buzz does not mean your vocal cords are not getting what they need. But if we can teach our body to lip buzz, it gives us a way to know whether we're giving our vocal cords what they need to do their job well, okay? So one of the ways that I explore kind of finding the lip buzz is through what I call the horse, okay? If you think about a sound that the horse makes, a horse goes like this. You've all heard that sound from a horse before, right? So the horses lip buzz really well. So let's see if we can try to just make that horse sound as we try. So just go ahead on your own time and just try to make that horse sound. I usually do it as what I call a sigh. So you take in a deep breath and just kind of let it out in a sigh. Okay, if it helps, you can throw your arms up in the air as you're making that sigh, you know? So just try a few of those and see if you can get your lips to kind of buzz in that way. Again. One more time. Good. Very nice. Now, perfection is never our goal. Our goal is to give our body the experience, and then after a while of practicing it, our body will feel more natural and will start to get better at it, okay? Why the other reason that lip buzzing is important is that the actual science has now proven. Now, lip buzzing has been done for centuries, okay? If you study the books written by the voice teachers of even the 16, 17, 1800s in Italy, they did lip buzzing too. They just didn't know why it was so good for them. They knew it felt good and it created good singers, but they didn't have the science to back it up. Well, now we have the science, and what the science shows is when we sing with our mouth closed, some of the air is going to go out because the lips are buzzing, right? But the majority of the air that we're sending to go out of our body actually turns around because the lips are closed. So that air comes, hits the back of our closed lips, and then goes back into the throat. And so what happens is that air, we have air going this way and air going this way, it starts to circulate inside the throat. And that lowers the pressure within the throat. It's kind of like when they talk about how there's a cold front that comes from one side in the weather system and another warm front, and then they come and meet, and then there's this circular air. Sometimes that's not a good thing because it causes tornadoes and hurricanes, right? But also, it's the same idea what goes on in the throat. That pressure, or the circular nature drops the pressure down in the throat, and it actually creates a better atmosphere for our vocal cords to work in. So if people have vocal damage, or they've made their voice really tired from coughing a lot or from having surgery or something like that, oftentimes you will have speech therapists who will even ask them to either hum or lip buzzing being slightly better than humming, because that actually allows the vocal cords to heal. One of the ways that they describe it is almost like giving a massage to your vocal cords, okay? So that's why lip buzzing is another really great thing. And lip buzzing, especially if your voice has not been used a lot lately, if you haven't been doing a lot of singing in the pandemic, if you've been sitting at home and maybe not even speaking as much, or mostly speaking on a telephone or an iPad or a Zoom meeting, it's a really healthy way to kind of get those vocal cords doing a little bit better usage of their properties. So we're going to try now to just do a little bit of singing on lip buzzing. If you cannot lip buzz at all, you can hum, or you can tongue buzz. Tongue buzzing is just placing the tongue up against the top of the mouth, not like forcing it, but just placing it there and putting the air through, which is very much like the lip buzzing. So my preference would be try to lip buzz first. If that's not working for you, then try to tongue buzz. because that's second best to the lip buzzing. And then if neither of those are working, go ahead and go to humming. But I would ask you, try to do a little bit of your horse and lip buzzing each day, because you will find over time your body will get more natural at it. Just like if you've ever learned how to dance or something else. You just usually don't pick it up immediately unless that's something you do a lot, right? And so it just takes time sometimes for your body to coordinate and learn new activities. All right, so we're going to try to do a little lip buzzing, and we're going to do it on this exercise. It goes like this. So it's just one time up and down for right now. If you can't lip buzz, try to tongue buzz. If you can't tongue buzz, try to hum. They're all possible good things you can do for your voice. Ready? And... Now, if you're trying and you can't lip buzz very well, just keep working to try to get consistent buzz. If you are lip buzzing, and that's fairly natural and it seems to be working fairly well for you, really pay attention to, are you getting what we call consistent buzz? So if I'm buzzing and it's going, and it's kind of stopping and starting, I may not be giving enough air to get consistent buzz. Does that make sense? So I may need to send more air up to help to get the buzz. But if I send that air, it's actually also going to help the vocal cords, which is why this is a great exercise to really check in on what I'm doing to help my vocal cords out. Let's try it again. Ready? And... have you pay attention to is, as you get to the end of it, does your buzz stop because it just stops, or are you controlling your air until you cut it off? Okay? And again, our goal is that I choose when that buzzing stops so that I have control over how I'm sending that air. Okay? Perfection, again, not our goal. Our goal is to give our body an experience and hope that over time, if we practice this, it will get better. Unfortunately, we do have to practice it because we're working out muscles. It's just like going to the gym. No one gets stronger by not going to the gym, right? It's just a reality of the situation. But I wanted to say, it doesn't take hours of work. If you just did a little bit of lip buzzing each day, it would actually get better. If you just did a little bit of thinking about your breathing each day, just for 2 or 3 minutes, you would get better. It's the consistency and repetition that really helps. Let's do a few more. Now I want you to think about the breath you're taking in. If you're sitting and you want to stay sitting, that's fine. Think about that plie breath. What did that feel like, and how can we breathe like that? To a place that feels really high for you. For others, that may not be your top notes and you have many more to go. Ultimately, you want to just sing comfortable notes when you're doing this. It's not about stretching to your extreme low notes or extreme high notes. It's about really sitting in the comfortable set of notes. So when you're doing this on your own, I may have gone a little low or a little high that was comfortable for you. Just skip those for a minute and wait for me to get back to a place that's comfortable. Or if you're doing it on your own, you can do that for yourself. Now, the other thing I want to show you is how you could possibly use this in just everyday life, maybe even when you're just, in your car, for example. Now, one thing I want to say is I don't mind people practicing sitting in their car. But any time you're going to work on this, it should be mindful. So make sure if you're choosing to practice in your car that you're not driving in a really bad, rainstorm and you cannot think about your singing. That's just not the best way to do this. But I want to show you that you could just turn on the radio to a song that you know and you could just lip buzz it. Now we're not going to sing a song for the radio. This is church, so we're going to sing a hymn. But I picked one that's kind of a little bit of a fun, jaunty hymn that will really kind of allow us to practice. And I just want you to think about every time you breathe, am I taking a good, deep, plie type breath? And when I am singing, I'm going to lip buzz or try to hum or tongue buzz. And I'm going to really try to make sure that my air is supported and I'm getting consistent buzz or hum throughout the whole thing. So this song is called Sent Forth by God's Blessing. And it sounds like this. Now we're going to try to do this with lip buzzing, so it will sound like this. Keep going. My fault right there, and how'd you do? Now those are long phrases, and I picked it on purpose for that so you can see. But if you practiced that every day, your phrases would get better, right? So, but you can do this with anything. So pick your favorite radio station, preferably one that has singing on it, and just lip buzz along with the singers. Now, again, it's important that you maybe not try to sing with the singers that sing really out of your range. So if the song seems really, really high, you could try to take it down the octave, or if there's a section of the song that seems really low or really high, maybe, skip out on that section for just a minute and get back to the other parts. But that's a really great way for you to utilize lip buzzing and practice it while just kind of doing some sort of an activity that you would normally do at home anyway, or maybe in your car. Yeah? So, I can't tell you how much fun it is to pull up in my car next to somebody who's lip buzzing in their car. And I'm like, you're a singer! So that's one of my favorite things. And it's such a great part of singing that you can kind of, you can have a camaraderie with other singers as you pull up in your car next to somebody else who's lip buzzing in their car. And I know it seems really strange, but, nobody really knows what you're doing. Any questions about lip buzzing?
No, but it makes my ears itch.
Now that is something that is very common for people, that it makes different parts of their face itch. I'm sorry about that. I can't fix that problem. A lot of people, it also makes their nose itch, yes? If that's really a problem to the point that you're not comfortable doing it, go to try the tongue buzzing or the humming. But it is actually not uncommon that it could make something on your face itch. It's just simply because we're causing vibration, and that vibration just tends to annoy that just a little bit. But I have found that even for people that have that problem when they first start, that either their body just gets used to it. It's kind of like tickling. You can actually teach your body not to be as ticklish as maybe you are over time. So that's definitely something that you can work on. But yes, it does sometimes make people itch in places on their face. Also, you will notice that if you have a little congestion, it will actually shake that up inside. But that's actually not a bad thing, because a lot of times when we have congestion and it's kind of stuck in there, we want to move it out. So you might notice that it moves around some congestion every once in a while. And it's just part of it, but it's actually not a bad part of it. Yeah?
Not at all.
Awesome. All right, so that's lip buzzing. I really love lip buzzing as a technique. I think it's very, very healthy, especially for people that maybe don't know how to use their voice a lot. It's something that you can do that very rarely is going to cause any problems for your voice and is going to teach your body a lot about singing and using your voice. So I strongly recommend trying some lip buzzing or tongue buzzing or humming if you can't get that lip to work. But try the horse and see if that helps you get into the lip buzzing just a little more. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about creating space in the voice. Now, another thing during the pandemic that we probably didn't utilize as much is a lot of range of our voice, especially if you were doing a lot of meetings online and things like that. We just don't speak as loudly or as supported when we're sitting in front of a computer as we do, and just even in an in-person meeting. And so because of that, stretching the space inside of our mouth is actually a really helpful thing. That's actually one of the reasons why we yawn. They say that we yawn to help get some oxygen into the body, but it also stretches all of the parts of the inside of the mouth and throat when we yawn. That because of that, as we practice stretching this, you might also feel the urge to yawn, because we're triggering all of those things that we feel in a yawn. So it's not uncalled for or unlikely that you would do a little yawning as we're doing some of this stretching, okay? I'll encourage you, if you can stand for this next one, but we'll go ahead and try that. But again, if you can't stand, this is something you could definitely practice. Just keep being aware of how you're feeling the chair under you with your sit bones, and that you're taking good, deep plie breaths. All right, this is called the owl exercise, okay? The reason I call it the owl exercise is because my goal is to sound as much like an owl as possible. So if you think about what an owl sounds, try it with me. Say, hoo, 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 hoo. Now, when we make that sound, if we do it correctly, we are lifting something called the soft palate, okay? So we're going to do a little experiment to figure out the soft palate for just a second. So if this represented my top teeth of my mouth, okay, and this is the space behind my top teeth, okay, this area right here is called the hard palate. And that is because when I push my tongue up against it, it's hard. And that's because there's bone directly above it. This is the bottom of the base of the skull part right there, yes? Okay, so this is called the hard palate. But as we get farther back, that becomes not having bone above it. It actually has space because this is now our throat, and that space allows us to be able to move the flesh down. Now this flesh, the actual palate itself, is not able to move itself, but there are muscles attached to it that can be stretched and taught to strengthen and move the soft palate. The uvula, which is that little dangly thing that most of us have in the back of our throats, unless you've had some surgery and had things removed. Sometimes they do remove the uvula because it can get really infected at times. But the uvula hangs at the very end of the soft palate in the back of the throat. Okay, so that's the soft palate. So we're wanting to practice lifting that soft palate. And when you go, hoo, hoo, just like the owl, you automatically lift that soft palate. Okay, so we're going to stretch that now by singing an exercise with that owl sound. Everybody try that with me. Ready? And... let's do another one. Now, one of the reasons we practice this exercise descending is because as we sing, the soft palate, if it's weak, wants to droop. So listen to mine once. Did you hear how my soft palate drooped and it ended up here instead of up here? So, we want to keep that soft palate in that owl position all the way through the exercise. Try another one. Think about that. Ooh, and good job. Now, one of the things that people say sometimes when we do this is if you really pay attention, your eyebrows raise. So, ooh, And that's just because we're trying to lift some muscles here that we don't have maybe as much sensation, and so we kind of encourage the eyebrows to come along with. It doesn't hurt anything for your eyebrows to lift. It doesn't do anything bad to the voice. So it's totally fine if your eyebrows raise. It's also fine if they don't. But if you notice that, that's just kind of a little extra thing you get out of trying to lift that soft palate. Let's do a few more. And for some of you, that might have been quite low. That's okay. The only thing I ask is to make sure that you don't let it drop and become heavy. We don't want it become loud and heavy and we want it to become light or stay light, and stay in that owl sensation even into our lower range. By doing that, we're actually working out muscles that will help us to sing both high and low, but we're working them out where they're the least comfortable, which is a really important thing to do. Just like sometimes when we're working out and the trainer that might be working with us at the gym says, we'll do 5 more. And you're like, oh, I'm exhausted. I can't do 5 more. But if we do those extra few, it usually causes us to actually build strength. Does that make sense? Even if we're really tired. So, all right. The next thing we're going to do to build some strength in our voice is called sliding. Now, this is an interesting kind of exercise to do because a lot of times if you ever have sung in a choir, you will hear the conductor say, no, don't slide, right? If you're going from a low note to a high note, yaw, and they're like, no, I want you to go yaw, yaw, right, and have no slide from that note. But sliding is actually how we create strength in the voice. So one of the things that, if you think about again, and I know I'm using a lot of gym metaphors, but the reality is this is a lot of what we do when we're trying to strengthen the voice, is to try to work out some muscles, right? And so if you think about it, if you had a dumbbell or some sort of a weight in your hand and you did this, you would actually not get a very good workout, because what gives you the workout is the control and the resistance of having to control that weight and not just let it fall or move quickly. Does that make sense? So sliding the voice does the same thing. It's great for strengthening the voice, oftentimes not wanted when we're actually singing in sort of a group or solo setting where they don't want the voice to just be, but it's fantastic for working out the voice. So just know that there's a difference. And so if you go to a rehearsal with another choral conductor and you go, well, this guy said you can slide. I'm not saying you should do it in every situation. I'm just saying when you're trying to strengthen the voice on your own in your own practice time, that it's a good thing to do. Yes?
Yes.
Okay? So we're going to do this all on yaw, and it's going to go like this. Yaw. Try that for me. Ready? And yaw. And you're going to say to me, Tim, that's a long time to do that. But the slower we can do it, the more controlled we can do it, the more strength we're going to continue to gain and grow. Does that make sense? Let's do another one. On yaw and yaw. Keep going. Good. Now, I didn't sing because I wanted to hear what you all were doing. Make sure that you really try to keep it, for lack of a better term, a sloppy slide instead of a scale. If we go, yaw, it's not the same workout as yaw. Can you hear the difference between those two? And now, I'm not saying that's an easy thing to do, but if you make that your goal, it will make your voice, or allow your voice to get more of a workout. Does that make sense? Try a few more. For some reason you're really struggling to do this on the ah. This is something that you could substitute the lip buzz for. So you could go just to try and see if that helps you to get a better slide, yes? And then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll do it on the lip buzz if that's working well for a little bit, and then try to put it back on the ah and see if I can create the same ideas in the ah as well, yes? Here we go. And that's one that you can stretch it a little bit higher than maybe your most comfortable notes, but you don't want to, again, go too high with it, yes? Questions about sliding. I know it seems, because for a lot of us, we've been told by conductors and things not to do that, but we really have found in the vocal pedagogy world, in teaching about the voice, that if you do it in practice time, it really can strengthen the voice. You can go ahead and have a seat for just a minute. So we just have a few minutes left, and so I thought it might be fun to use some of these things to kind of look at something that we've done. Oh, you know what? I'm going to grab hymnals. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second.
I like the way it makes my ears feel.
My lips always vibrate.
I forgot to grab the hymnals before we started. Take a hymnal and turn to page 376. For those of you at home, we are doing Dona Nobis Pacem, which is a hymn that we've sung in this church many times. If you know the words, it's not too hard. Dona Nobis Pacem is the entire thing. But if you would like to follow along and find the music online, you can join us by looking online for the music. Dona Nobis Pacem is the name of the piece, 376 in the Methodist hymnal. So, what I'd like to do is I'd like to sing through this once with us lip buzzing it. So we're going to take our idea. You can tongue buzz or hum. You do not have to lip buzz if that's not working yet for you. So, but pick lip buzzing, tongue buzzing, or humming, and let's try to sing through this once. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and. We're just going to do that first part first. So let's do that one more time. Lip buzzing, tongue buzzing, or humming. 1 and 2 and 3. Very good. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is practice having good space, like our ooh vowels, yes? But this time we're going to do it on the words do, na. Say that after me.
Do, na.
No, bis.
No, bis.
Pacham. Now, if you say do, na, no, bis, pacham, that is not good space. Because a lot of times you sound like a southerner, and a southerner I am as well, but it does not always make for good singing. Yes? So, do, na,
Do, na.
no, bis,
No, bis.
pacham. Now let's try it on the words. 1 and 2 and 3. Do, na, no, bis, pacham, pacham. Do, na, no, bis, pacham. How did you do? Making sure that you sang with good vowels. Yes? Now, again, singing with good vowels is more than just practicing and doing it with good vowels. It's actually about teaching the body to stretch pieces inside of your mouth that allow you to make better vowels. So the more we practice them, the easier they become because we're stretching things that need to be stretched. Does that make sense? Good. Now, the very first thing we did was think about how we breathed. Okay? So let's stand, and I'd like you to sing this, and every time you have to breathe, I would like you to make sure you take a good plie breath. Now, if you're holding the book, you can just do one arm to practice that plie breath, or you can just bend the knees a little bit. All of those are possibilities if you cannot use both of your arms. So first of all, air out. Good plie breath. Sing and... Take a good breath. Do, na, no, bis, pacham. Now, some of you are breathing more often than me. That is totally fine. The goal is not that you have to right now sing this in as few breaths as possible. All I ask is that when you breathe, you're really making sure you're taking a good breath. Yes? All right, let's do that one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Do, na, no, bis, pacham, pacham. Do, na, no, bis, pacham. Now, I took more breaths that time just to show you what it's like. You can choose where you need to breathe right now. That is not something that I really find that's that important when you're trying to practice this. Breathe as often as you need to, but learn to take good breaths. Does that make sense? Good. Now, let's do it one more time. We're paying attention to how we're breathing. We're paying attention to our vowels. And then we lip buzz this. Does it still feel like our lip buzz? Is it do, na, no, bis, which doesn't sound like my lip buzz? Do you hear that consistency of air? Can you really make sure? Do, no, nis, that you're really using that consistent air to support you. Does that make sense? And this is why we practice these things, because then we can actually try to do similar things when we're actually singing. Does that make sense? Awesome. Let's try it. Ready? 1, 2, breathe. Do, no, nis, pacem, pacem. Good breath. Do, nobis, pacem. And just like in the lip buzzing, I choose for my body when I'm going to let that energy stop that's supporting me under that, that's helping the buzz happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. This is a great piece. It's very simple, but it can really work a lot of things. And because it's in Latin, Latin vowels tend to be a little less chewed than the American English language. And so by practicing the Latin... Yes, they do not have diphthongs in Dona nobis pacem and in the Latin language. And so because of that, it's a really good way to practice singing with good vowels, singing really long and connected lines that have a lot of energy to support them, and then also making sure we're taking a really good breath. Yeah? And it's got a nice range to it because it does do, na, and then you have the do, na, which takes a little more support and energy to sing up there. This is a great way to do it. Now, I know all of these things seem maybe fairly simple, but these are the building blocks if you would like to strengthen your voice over the next few weeks to get it stronger, whether that means to sing Amazing Grace from the congregation better, or to sing a solo, or to sing along with the radio better. So any of those things require these basic building blocks, which are the building blocks to improving our voice. And that was really my goal for you today, is to really take from this some building block things that if you practiced, it would help. Now, one of the things I want to say about practice, and I know all of us have busy lives, and trying to find time to work on these things is challenging. But one of the things we understand about the voice is that when we are trying to teach new things to the body, it requires repetition through building of muscle memory. If you've not heard that term before, it's basically an idea that our brain and our muscles memorize how we utilize them. And they memorize both the ways we do that well, and how we use them badly. Yes? Which is how a lot of times people start ending up with back pain or leg pain or different things that we do to our bodies through kind of bad habits, right? When we want to teach good habit, that repetition is also very important. So the more often you mindfully work on these things, the better. But the other thing that we understand is that it doesn't require actually a long period of time to work on it. It's more about the consistency of doing it every day, for lack of a better term. I'm not saying that you have to do it every day, but just so you know, the science shows, especially as we're starting to learn to do these things for our body, the science shows that if you practiced for 15 minutes for 4 days and took a day off, you would lose 2 of the 4 days that you worked by taking that day off. Not in any sort of a judgment sense, but simply that's how muscle memory works. So consistency does become important as we're working. Now, the more you do this, you can take more time off, and because that muscle memory starts to get built, and you can take more time off. But especially if you're starting to learn it, if you just took 5 minutes every day and did some of these exercises, you would start to see growth and improvement in your voice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? And again, no judgment. We all have busy lives and don't always have time to work on it. But if this is something you'd like to improve upon over the next few months or few weeks, these are some things you could do just a little bit every day, and you'd really start to see growth and help in your voice. The last thing that I want to say is, right now it's quite dry because we have heaters on in our buildings and because of the weather. And so because of that, and also just because we're wearing masks a lot, reminding yourself to drink water is really important right now. And most of us probably aren't drinking as much as we probably should. So just a quick reminder to kind of keep a water bottle with you. I really struggle because wearing a mask does not make it easy. You have to, really think that you want to drink water because you have to pull the mask up or down, all those sort of things. But the more that you can remind yourself to stay hydrated, that also is an important part of singing as well. And then also just taking care of yourself, getting rest, sleep, that all affects your voice, right? When you don't get rest. And so those are important things to do to take care of your body and help your voice out. Any questions from things that we talked about? You can have a seat if you would like. Any questions? And again, if you are joining us online and you have questions, if you would put them in the comments section below the video, I would be happy to send you an answer to your questions later. If you do it in the live chat, it won't save, and so I can't have access to that after the video, the live stream is done. But I will go and look at the comments below the video and be happy to answer any questions that might come up in that. I will also be leaving this video up on the YouTube page if you would like to watch it again or share it. I will also be putting it on our website. The last thing I want to say is in our music section, in our music and arts section of our website, we have a whole set of short videos that I did during the pandemic with more vocal exercises. You'll already see some of the ones that we did today in there, but you'll also see some other ones. Again, if you're just looking, kind of like sometimes people like to just have a video to put on to exercise with, if you're just looking for something that you can sing along with, those videos are great exercises that you can utilize that are free and available to you whenever you would like. I'm really grateful that you spent some time with me today. I love teaching people how to make their voices better. Again, I know it seems really simple, but the more you work on these basic skills, the better your voice will get. And then finally, if you would like to ask me more questions, please feel free to email me, tim@arvadaumc.org. And I hope you will join us again next month on the third Sunday of the month in February, when Mark Zwilling, the organist from St. Andrew's United Methodist Church, will be joining us to do a class on the organ. He's going to be spending some time on just the glory of the instrument itself and teaching us a little bit more about the workings of the organ. I'm very excited about that. We will actually be doing a multi-camera live stream so that those of you who want to watch from home can see his feet and his hands and all of those things. We'll be also pulling the organ out a little bit more for the people who are in person so that you can also enjoy that. But I hope you will join us in February for that, and then we will be continuing these in March, April, and May, and you can see online the different topics. Each of our arts staff will be offering different topics. I know Beth Chrysler will be offering one on leitmotifs or themes in movies and movie soundtracks. So we've got lots of great topics coming up, and I'm excited about continuing to learn about music with all of you. Tell your friends, these classes are open to anyone. You don't even have to be involved in the music programs at AUMC. Anybody who would like to be learning more about music. The goal is not that you have to know about music to participate in this series. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to answering questions and seeing you next month.
I give you credit, which you don't deserve, for the sunset.
Oh, yeah.